The Art of Not Fighting, a philosophical reflection on modern resistance. There's something unsettling about watching water. It has no shape, no fixed form, no apparent strength. Yet drop by drop, it carves through mountains. Grain by grain, it reshapes coastlines. Without effort, without anger, without the desperate need to prove itself. We live in a world that worships hardness. Steel skyscrapers pierce the sky. Concrete highways slice through landscapes. We build walls, barriers, defenses. We teach our children to stand their ground, to never give up, to fight for what they believe in. And yet, here we are exhausted, anxious, perpetually at war with reality itself. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu observed something we've forgotten. Nothing in the world is softer than water. Yet nothing is better at overcoming the hard and strong. And nothing is better and strong. It's a statement that feels almost naive in our age of hustle culture and zero-sum thinking. But perhaps that's exactly why we need to examine it. Walk through any city today, and you'll see it everywhere. The subtle violence of resistance. The businessman furiously typing emails at 11 p.m., fighting against time itself. The social media activist, fingers flying across keyboards, battling strangers over opinions that will be forgotten by morning. The parents screaming at traffic, as if their frustration could somehow rearrange the laws of physics and clear the road ahead. We've become a civilization addicted to pushing back. Against aging, hence the billion-dollar anti-aging industry. Against uncertainty, hence our obsession with prediction markets and weather apps that forecast 14 days into a fundamentally unpredictable future. Against discomfort, hence the endless scroll of distractions in our pockets, the constant noise that drowns out the whisper of our own mortality. But here's what's curious. The harder we push, the more exhausted we become. The more we resist, the more trapped we feel. It's as if we're caught in some cosmic joke where our very efforts to control life ensure that life controls us. Consider the mighty oak and the humble reed. The oak stands proud, thick-trunked, immovable. It represents everything we're taught to aspire to: strength, stability, unwavering principles. But when the hurricane comes, which one survives? The oak, rigid and unbending, cracks and falls. The reed bends, flows, dances with the wind, and emerges intact when the storm passes. This isn't just poetry. It's a profound observation about the nature of survival itself. In our personal lives, we see this principle playing out constantly. The colleague who refuses to adapt to new technologies gets left behind. The relationship that cannot bend under pressure breaks. The ideology that cannot incorporate new information becomes brittle and eventually shatters. Yet somehow, we continue to mistake flexibility for weakness, adaptation for failure. We live in a culture that celebrates the oak while ignoring the wisdom of the reed. There's a particular kind of tiredness that comes from constant resistance. It's not the good tiredness of a day well spent, but the hollow exhaustion of swimming against a current that never stops. You can see it in people's faces on the subway, in the way they hunch over their phones, in the defensive way they move through the world. We resist the aging of our bodies, so we spend fortunes on treatments and procedures. We resist the unpredictability of markets, so we obsessively check portfolios that we cannot actually control. We resist the political views of others, so we argue with strangers on the internet until our fingers ache and our hearts race with indignation. An ancient Chinese story tells of a man who spent his days worrying that the sky would fall. His friends tried to reassure him that this was impossible, but he couldn't let go of his fear. Finally, a wise person approached him and said, "You're right, the sky might fall. And if it does, there's nothing you can do about it. And if it doesn't, there's nothing you need to do about it. So why carry this burden?" The man in the story represents all of us in our various ways. We carry burdens that serve no purpose except to exhaust us. We fight battles that cannot be won, resist changes that cannot be stopped, and wonder why we feel so tired all the time. Watch how water behaves, and you'll understand something profound about intelligence itself. Water doesn't fight the shape of its container, it becomes the container. It doesn't resist obstacles, it finds ways around them, over them, under them. It doesn't waste energy on futile conflicts, it simply flows toward its destination. This isn't passivity. Water is incredibly active, constantly moving, constantly working, but it works with reality rather than against it. When it encounters a dam, it doesn't exhaust itself trying to break through. Instead, it rises, gathering strength until it can flow over or around the obstacle. In our age of constant conflict, political, social, economic, there's something almost radical about this approach. Imagine applying this to a heated argument. Instead of meeting force with force, what if we became like water? Instead of hardening our position, what if we allowed the other person's anger to flow through us? Finding the spaces where genuine communication might be possible? This doesn't mean becoming a doormat or abandoning our values. It means understanding that sometimes the most effective way to influence a situation is not through direct confrontation, but through patient, intelligent adaptation. Here's what's strange about our obsession with control. The more we try to control outcomes, the less control we actually have. The parent who micromanages every aspect of their child's life often raises a child who cannot make decisions independently. The manager who cannot delegate creates a team that cannot function without constant supervision. The individual who cannot accept uncertainty lives in a constant state of anxiety about things that may never happen. The Taoist tradition suggests a different approach. Influence what you can influence, accept what you cannot change, and develop the wisdom to know the difference. It's not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about understanding the difference between effective action and wasteful resistance. Consider social media outrage, that peculiar modern phenomenon where millions of people exhaust themselves being angry about events they cannot influence, involving people they'll never meet, in places they'll never visit. The energy spent on this digital fury could move mountains if it were redirected toward the immediate, tangible world where we actually have agency. There's a martial arts principle that demonstrates this beautifully. When someone pushes you, instead of pushing back, you step aside and let their own momentum carry them past you. You use their force against them, not through aggression, but through intelligent positioning. This same principle applies to life's challenges. When faced with criticism, instead of immediately defending, what if we listened first? When confronted with change, instead of resisting, what if we looked for opportunities within the transition? When dealing with difficult people, instead of matching their energy, what if we remained centered and calm? This approach requires a different kind of strength, not the strength of rigidity, but the strength of rootedness. Like a tree that bends in the wind but remains firmly planted, we can be flexible in our responses while staying true to our deeper values. We live in an attention economy that profits from our resistance. Social media algorithms feed us content designed to provoke outrage because outraged people stay online longer. News media highlights conflict because conflict captures attention. Political systems thrive on opposition because opposition drives engagement. In this environment, the ability to not react, to observe without immediately resisting, becomes almost revolutionary. When everyone around you is shouting, speaking quietly becomes powerful. When everyone is fighting, choosing not to fight becomes a profound statement. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or withdrawn. It means developing the discernment to choose our battles wisely, to recognize when resistance serves a purpose and when it merely feeds the machine of perpetual conflict. Lao Tzu wrote his observations over 2 millennia ago in a world without smartphones, social media, or global news cycles. Yet his insights feel startlingly relevant. Perhaps this is because he was observing something fundamental about human nature, our tendency to create unnecessary suffering through resistance to what is. The master does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. He wrote, "At first glance, this seems paradoxical, even lazy. But observe master craftspeople at work, and you'll understand. They don't fight the material, they work with its natural properties. They don't force solutions, they allow solutions to emerge from deep understanding." In our personal lives, this might mean accepting that some relationships will end rather than trying to force them to continue. It might mean allowing grief to flow through us rather than resisting it. It might mean acknowledging our limitations rather than exhausting ourselves trying to transcend them. Perhaps the most profound insight of the water metaphor is that softness requires tremendous courage. In a world that equates yielding with defeat, choosing the path of non-resistance takes genuine bravery. It means accepting that we might be misunderstood, that others might see our flexibility as weakness, that we might appear to lose battles that we choose not to fight. But there's a deeper victory available to those who understand this principle. It's the victory of inner peace in the midst of external chaos. It's the victory of maintaining perspective when others lose theirs. It's the victory of conserving energy for what truly matters while others exhaust themselves on trivialities. As we move through our days, perhaps the question isn't, how can I overcome this obstacle? But how can I flow around it? Not, how can I make this person see my point? But how can I understand theirs? Not, how can I control this outcome? But how can I respond wisely to whatever emerges? These aren't easy questions to live with. They require us to give up the illusion of control that we've spent our lives constructing. They ask us to trust in an intelligence larger than our own, to believe that sometimes the best action is non-action, that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. The way of water doesn't promise easy answers. It doesn't guarantee that we'll get what we want, or that life will unfold according to our plans. What it offers is something perhaps more valuable: the possibility of moving through life with grace, of facing challenges without being destroyed by them, of maintaining our humanity in an increasingly harsh world. In the end, we return to water formless, yielding, apparently powerless. Yet it shapes landscapes, sustains life, and outlasts the hardest stone. In a world obsessed with resistance, perhaps our greatest rebellion is to learn the art of flowing. The question that remains is not whether this ancient wisdom is true, but whether we have the courage to embody it. In a culture that rewards rigidity, can we choose flexibility? In a world that celebrates conflict, can we practice harmony? In an age of endless resistance, can we remember how to yield? And perhaps most importantly, what might we discover about ourselves and about life itself if we stopped fighting the current and learned, finally, to swim?